No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for June 17th, 2024. Shout out to everybody watching this. I appreciate it. Some people were wondering if I was actually attacked by this mysterious faction that appeared at the end of Raw. I am here. I did not, in fact, get attacked. I had to post the news over on NoDQ.com. Running a few minutes late, but thank you to everybody tuning in. Feel free to leave your comments, your super chats, which are very much appreciated. Let's get to this. We have a lot to discuss. This was a very eventful episode of Monday Night Raw. And no, Dave is a beastly. I was not taking a number 2. I promise you that. All right, let's get to Raw. We had footage shown from Clash at the Castle. We kicked off Raw with a big surprise, the return of Seth freaking Rollins. I did not expect this. I do not think anybody reported that Rollins was going to be back on this episode of Monday Night Raw. Not even a rumor that he was going to be back on this show. I like being surprised like this. I was not expecting it. The crowd popped big for Rollins' return. And I will say this up front here. Shout out to Corpus Christi. They were not the worst WWE crowd of the year. In fact, they were maybe even a better than average crowd this year. They were vocal. They were very happy to see Seth Rollins back. Rollins seemed recharged, took a couple months off to rebuild. And you know how the whole saying goes, reclaim, redesign, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, he's back for one reason. He got into the business to be the best of all time. And he said that he cannot be the best of all time without winning back his world championship. He said that he was going to win Money in the Bank, something he has done before, but then he was quickly interrupted by Damian Priest. Priest talked about how it's no longer Monday Night Rollins, and he brought up how he wanted to cash in on Rollins at WrestleMania. Rollins responded by saying that they are a lot alike. They both made their names in groups. They both won their first world titles by cashing in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. But one difference, Rollins said that he actually grew a set and stood on his own 2 feet. Now, Priest had a response to this. He said that Rollins doesn't need to concern himself with Money in the Bank because Priest was offering a title match against Rollins at the Money in the Bank premium live event. Rollins thought that maybe this was a trap, but then he did, in fact, accept the challenge, and it is official. Damian Priest will defend his title against the former champion Seth Rollins at Money in the Bank. Of course, they'll probably do a contract signing next week or in 2 weeks because that's how WWE rolls, but they had the graphic. It is official. Contract or no contract signing, it is official. And now people are speculating, is WWE thinking that Damian Priest versus Gunther is not a big enough marquee match for SummerSlam, so they have to get the title back on Rollins and then have Rollins defend against Gunther at SummerSlam. We'll see what happens. But yes, to answer the question, it looks like Seth Rollins, if not cleared at this very moment, he'll be ready to go for Money in the Bank, which is coming up on July 6th, 2 weekends away from this coming Saturday. Nice start to the show. Like I said, very cool to see Seth Rollins come back as a surprise. Nobody reported on it. It's hard to pull off those types of surprises these days. So credit to Rollins and everybody in WWE for pulling off that surprise. looking forward to Money in the Bank. We then had Chad Gable backstage venting to Adam Pearce. He wanted another match with Sami Zayn, the Intercontinental Champion, but Pearce said that Gable needs to earn it. And Gable said, fine, he'll earn it. He told Pearce to go find him somebody else. Shout out to Michael, who sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate it. Says, Aaron, if you don't remember, you also said the last CC show last year was pretty good. SmackDown portion of the 2023 draft. I was at that show too. I don't know what CC means, and we're live, pal, so I can't really think on my feet right now as far as your question. I honestly don't remember too much about last year's draft, other than it's overall better than it was before Triple H took over, but still not great. Oh, CC is Corpus Christi. What's funny is I actually remember the AEW show in Corpus Christi having a good crowd, and I thought at the time, well, they were vocal for AEW, so there might be hope for that city. Just a little note to everybody: don't abbreviate in the super chats because my brain doesn't work too well when I'm live, and I need every little aid I can get. So if you start abbreviating things, my brain might not be working at full capacity, so I might not understand what you're talking about. But thank you nonetheless for the super chat. And yeah, Corpus Christi definitely brought it on this show. D. Martin 5th sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, champion doesn't always challenge the challenger. Well, that is true, but things can sometimes go a different way. Damian Priest, despite being a heel, is a fighting champion, and maybe he just did not like Seth Rollins' trash talking. All right, so we had our first match of the evening, which was Chad Gable going up against Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, the one big son of a bitch, as Pat McAfee says, has his SOB t-shirt. Strowman basically squashed Gable. Gable could not really get any momentum going. He was tossed around the ring. He took the Bret Hart chest first bump into the corner. Strowman was just beating him up, and Gable was really desperate. He took Tozawa on the outside and used Tozawa as a shield. Strowman ended up grabbing Tozawa, throwing him into Gable, got Gable back in the ring, and picked up the win with the power slam. No worries, Michael, on the typos. Just letting you guys know, like, when we're live, I need the super chats especially to be as clear as possible so I can comprehend fully what I'm reading. But again, no worries. Thank you for your contribution. So Gable got squashed, which is very interesting considering he reportedly just signed a new contract. And Strowman beat him in a glorified squash match. So that was interesting to me. I'm not sure what's next for Gable, although we had a little bit of a tease later on. And there was quite a few more events with Chad Gable on this show, so stay tuned. After the match was over, Gable ordered the Alpha Academy in the ring, and he grabbed Tozawa. Maxine Dupree, who was using a crutch, her foot was even more injured than it was at Clash at the Castle. She stepped in, but then Gable ordered her to leave. She got out of the ring, and then Gable slapped Tozawa. Otis turned around. Crowd was buzzing about this, and finally Otis had enough. He shoved Gable like halfway across the ring, and the crowd just erupted. Corpus Christi, they brought the energy. I wasn't sure if this was the right town to have this moment take place at, but to their credit, they popped big for it. And yeah, Otis was all fired up, and Michael Cole was like, beat his ass, Otis. But Otis just left the ring with Tozawa and Maxine Dupree. More on that in a little bit. Of course, great job here from everybody. I love the bump that Gable took. He was shoved and he took an awesome bump, being knocked into the corner. Caleb Jacobs sent in a $3 super chat. Thank you for that, Caleb. I appreciate it. Says, finally, the Alpha Academy is done. Done for now. And we'll get to the Alpha Academy here in just a few moments. Definitely looking like the Alpha Academy as we've known it is no more. And there was a little bit of a follow-up later. So let's stay tuned for that. We had footage shown of Dominic and Liv Morgan, their whole soap opera, everything that went down last week. And Judgment Day had a backstage meeting. They were talking about needing to derail Braun Strowman. Damian Priest then confronted Finn Bálor about Bálor taking the hotel room key card last week. Bálor said he was just doing it to protect Dominic. And then Priest asked about Money in the Bank. If Bálor won, what would he do? Bálor said he would cash in, of course, on Cody. And everybody had a good laugh out of that. We had our first of two Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Io Sky versus Kiana James versus Zelina Vega. Pretty solid match, and there was actually a very light "This is awesome" chant for the match. Competitive with all three of them. Io did her springboard moonsault to the outside on Kiana, and then Zelina Vega came off the apron with the Meteora. And at one point, you had Io and Zelina both going for the cover, but since only one can qualify, the referee did not count out Kiana James. And then Zelina built up some momentum, did a 619, hit the code red to Io, but Kiana broke it up. Then we had Liv Morgan interfering. She came out there. She was wearing Dominic Mysterio's vest. And she was out there, and then Io Sky took advantage of the situation. Zelina Vega was distracted, and she got knocked off the apron. Io Sky then pinned Kiana James with the over the moonsault. Io Sky officially qualifies for Money in the Bank. Can she win it a second year in a row? Kiana James takes an L. Not really surprised. She's the rookie of the three of them. And they're actually trying to set up Zelina Vega for Liv Morgan. More on that in just a little bit. Jordan Smith, regarding your comment in the chat room, NoDQ.com has that information if you want to know who those guys were. And we'll be talking about that in just a few moments. I'll go ahead and say them when we get to it. So we had a recap of Braun Breaker destroying Ricochet and Ilya Dragunov on last week's show. And then we had Sami Zayn, the IC champion, come into the ring for a promo. He said he's moving on from Chad Gable. He feels bad for the Alpha Academy, but said that everybody has to do things on their own time, just like he did with the Bloodline. He said he's ready to defend the IC title against anybody. And of course, we had that recap from earlier. Braun Breaker himself came out there, wanted a title match, said that he's destroyed all these people. He has a line of bodies. Sami Zayn is next. He's taken the title. But then, as Zayn was holding up the title, ready for the match, Sheamus came out and talked about how he's been chasing the title for years. He's been having banger after banger after banger, and said maybe Zayn should consider him as the challenger. Breaker was not amused by this, said he'll kick Sheamus's ass, and Sheamus said, while Breaker is the hot new thing, he needs to get his ass in the back of the line. And Sami Zayn said, well, maybe you two should sort it out. He'll talk to Pierce and set up a match. And we did have a match confirmed for later in the show. Backstage, we had the new women's tag team champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, interviewed. They talked about their dream coming true. The hard work starts now. They're going to take on anyone. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark interrupted. They want their title match, and Shayna even brought up how she made Jade Cargill tap out and the referee didn't see it. And they said that the new champs are just keeping the titles warm for them. Fire and Dawn were ready. They said anywhere, anytime. We'll see when that match happens, maybe at Money in the Bank. Next up, we had Carlito versus Dragon Lee in a singles match. You had Rey Mysterio out there, and it was a back and forth match. And at one point, Carlito was daring Rey to hit him. Dragon Lee took advantage of that. But then, just as Lee was perhaps on the verge of winning, Liv Morgan showed up again, once again wearing Dominic's vest. Zelina Vega ran out there and attacked Liv. All hell broke loose. You had JD McDonough knocking Dragon Lee off the top rope, and then Carlito picked up the win with the backstabber. Some people are probably upset about Dragon Lee taking the loss here to Carlito, but I think the whole idea was to advance the Liv Morgan and Dominic storyline, and she was out there, and Judgment Day gets another win. I think that's the whole point of it, to elevate that storyline. So it is what it is. At least Dragon Lee wasn't the stupid baby face, like he actually got knocked off of the top rope by JD McDonough. So good stuff here. I liked it. I'm really entertained with the Liv Morgan storyline. We had a tag team match. Well, actually, no, I'm jumping ahead here. Chad Gable was yelling at Otis backstage. Otis said he's done. He packed his bags. Him, Tozawa, and Maxine left with their luggage. And Gable was upset. He said they can't leave on him. They're expelled. He said he vowed to win Money in the Bank and do something Otis could never do, and that's cash in and win the World Heavyweight Championship. So the plot thickens here. Gable is going to be trying to win Money in the Bank. I think he's got a qualifying match for next week. And will this be the beginning of a new era for Chad Gable, or is he not going to make it to next week? More on that. There was another segment with Gable involved. Stay tuned. We had footage shown of CM Punk getting the referee shirt backstage from Jessica Carr at Clash at the Castle. They showed it on TV, and that led to Drew McIntyre coming out to address what happened at Clash at the Castle, getting screwed by CM Punk. He said Punk's name, but then after the fans chanted CM Punk, he said, "Screw this company." He said he quits. He walked out. Adam Pearce tried to talk him out of it. He just kept walking to the back. Triple H was there. Triple H wanted to try and talk some sense into McIntyre, but again, McIntyre just stormed off. And then to top it all off, McIntyre deactivated his social media accounts, his Twitter, his Instagram, so on and so forth. Now, of course, this is temporary. People are freaking out. I mean, it's mostly just trolling. Drew Galloway is All Elite and Drew Galloway is back in Impact. Like, it's an angle. Very good chance he shows up on SmackDown. Keep in mind, his wife just had emergency surgery, so maybe they hold off on it a few weeks. But yeah, it's CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. It's pretty obvious that's where it's going, and rightfully so. CM Punk appears to be ready to go for SummerSlam. And maybe McIntyre returns as soon as Friday and attacks CM Punk in Chicago. I mean, That would be logical, you know, getting payback. Punk embarrassed McIntyre in Scotland. How does McIntyre get revenge? Embarrass Punk in his hometown of Chicago. So maybe we'll see that this Friday on SmackDown. If not, if that doesn't happen, how about Drew McIntyre shows up at TNA Slammiversary just to really sell the angle? Like, I'd really like that if they're not going to do something in Chicago with McIntyre and they're going to hold off a few weeks. I'd love to see that. Like, McIntyre just show up on Impact to really sell the angle that he quit, and then Triple H has to give him CM Punk on a silver platter to bring him back. Like, I think that would be great, but don't know if they're going to do that or not. Anyways, I really liked the angle a lot for Drew McIntyre to quit. Got a lot of people talking. We had Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane against Katana Chance and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, the life of the party, whatever you want to call them. Damage Control immediately went after them, and Carter and Chance got in a little bit of offense. Then Kairi Sane got the upper hand for her team, came off the top with the insane elbow, but Chance broke it up. So Carter kicked out, well, not kick out, but got out of the pinning predicament. Lyra Valkyria showed up to check on Katana Chance, and Dakota Kai was distracted. Chance and Carter then hit the after party and pinned Dakota Kai. So this is furthering a potential breakup storyline with Damage Control. I mean, Damage Control may have run its course, and with Asuka out of action, I just worry that they're going to get lost in the shuffle. But what else can you do with Damage Control at this point? And backstage, Io Sky said that Damage Control has to change, or she is going to change it herself. Next up, we had Braun Breaker versus Sheamus with Sami Zayn on commentary at ringside. It was a pretty good match. They did, well, Braun Breaker botched one big moment in the match where he went for the Frankensteiner, jumped up to the top rope, and, well, he slipped. And fortunately, they were able to recover from that, and it continued to be back and forth. Sheamus hit his signature moves, the white noise, running knee, 10 beats, went for the bro kick, but then we had Ludwig Kaiser attacking Sheamus for a disqualification. So they're continuing the Sheamus and Kaiser storyline, which is fine. I'm not the biggest fan of the DQ, but it is what it is. You know, they wanted to protect both guys, and it did further that storyline with Kaiser. And the post-match, I will say this, the post-match made up for the DQ, in my opinion, because Kaiser was attacking Sheamus on the outside of the ring, and then Kaiser started to leave, but then started running back. But as he was running on one side of the ring, Braun Breaker was running on the other side of the ring, and then they collided in the center. Breaker came in, as Michael Cole called it, an interception, speared the hell out of Ludwig Kaiser. It was like a head-on collision, and the crowd popped huge for it. I mean, this definitely redeemed Breaker for the botch earlier in the match. This was awesome, and the crowd chanted, "Holy shit." I mean, it made Breaker look like a complete badass. Also, he did this during the match with Sheamus. He jumped off the apron with a clothesline, sending Sheamus over the announce table. That was pretty good, too. So Breaker overall had more hits than misses. He had the one big botch with the Frankensteiner, but other than that, he looked great in the match. And yeah, as Philip pointed out, excellent camera shot with Breaker and Ludwig Kaiser both running on the opposite sides of the ring, you know, coming in for that head-on collision. Awesome spot, very creative. So whoever came up with that, kudos to them. Awesome segment. Backstage, we had another great segment. We had Liv Morgan still wearing the vest of Dominic Mysterio, and Dominic came over. He demanded that she give him the vest back, and she said she would, but only if Dominic took it off himself. And he grabbed the zipper. He slowly started to pull down the zipper, and as he was doing this, he got cock blocked by one Damian Priest. Damian Priest caught him, caught in 4K, whatever the saying is. And yeah, it was pretty funny. Dominic just grabbed the jacket, and yeah, Damian had some words with Liv Morgan. I mean, it's awesome. I love it. Soap opera, not everybody's cup of tea, but this is the kind of stuff that draws the big numbers on television. So, you know, I personally like it. I've always been a fan of these soap operas. You know, it's a callback to the Attitude Era. You know, it's fun stuff. It's you know, mixing a soap opera with professional wrestling, and that's what wrestling basically is a soap opera. And Dominic almost folded. You know, they're slowly building up to it. You know, we're going to get the kiss and the making out. It's just a matter of time, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We had something that is not quite as fun. Karrion Kross and Scarlett did a backstage promo, and he challenged Kofi Kingston or Xavier Woods to a match next week. And he said he would leave the AOPP in the back for that. He was hoping it would be Kofi, and sure enough, we had a response to the promo. Kofi Kingston accepted the match for next week. I still think we need a Karrion Kross babyface turn. I think that's really the only hope for him at this point. I just don't really care about this particular storyline unless the New Day actually breaks up, which I don't think they will, because they've been hell-bent on being the one faction that never breaks up. But if it's not going in that direction, I don't care. That's just my take on it. And I think Kross needs like a complete change, you know, babyface turn, something. We had our main event of the evening, which was very early. Spoiler alert. I mean, when the show has a main event starting really early and ends early, you know something's up. We had Jey Uso versus Finn Bálor versus Rey Mysterio. At first, Bálor was just hanging out on the outside, picking his spots. We had 2 commercial breaks for this match, but after the second break, it was still like I want to say 10:48 Eastern. Rey Mysterio started to build up momentum. He kicked out of the Jey Uso spear. He had a 619 to each guy individually, and then did a double 619. And at this point, we had interference from Dominic Mysterio going after his dad. Judgment Day showed up, JD McDonough, Carlito, but then Strowman ran out there, chased off Judgment Day. Finn Bálor hit the coup de grace to Jey Uso, He hit the coup de grace to Rey, but then Jey Uso came off the top with the Uso splash to Bálor, and Jey Uso pinned Finn Bálor to officially advance to Money in the Bank. Will it be Money in the Yeet? Only time will tell. Fun main event to close out the show. Well, didn't actually close out the show because it was like 10:55 when Jey Uso was celebrating in the stands. So shout out to James, who sent in a $5 super chat, says, Celtics won the NBA championship. Howdy Group debuted in epic fashion. What a great night over here in Boston. No DQ stream is my nightcap. Cheers. Well, cheers to you, James. Thank you so much for the super chat and tuning in. I appreciate it. So as Jay is celebrating in the stands, I should say, the lights go out. total Bray Wyatt with the lights going out. We got the fireflies. We got the one note of the piano just playing over and over again. We got the door at the stage. The door opens and Nikki Cross shows up. She's crawling on the ground. She's in this makeup. Very much looked like Sister Abigail. And she's got the lantern. And then she points to the back. And we see the gorilla position, which has been completely decimated. It looked like something out of a haunted house. If you've ever gone to like Universal Studios, Halloween Horror Nights, or any haunted house attraction where you walk through the different rooms and it's just complete destruction. That's what this was. You had the smoke and you had bodies. You had blood all over the place. People were seemingly murdered. You had Chad Gable. I mentioned Chad Gable. So maybe Chad's just getting destroyed before he forms the new Alpha Academy, and that's why they're justifying this. But yeah, Chad Gable was there, presumably dead. He had blood over his face. And then we had Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy was there. He had several other guys with him, Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis, and Eric Rowan. And they all had the Bray Wyatt universe masks and attire. The whole group came out there and they posed on the stage. Uncle Howdy said, "We're here." He blew out the lantern and the show went off the air. So apparently they are going to be known as the 6-6 or the Sick Six. Something like that. I'm not sure, but apparently they already have merchandise. The Wyatt Sicks, which is SICKS. That's going to be the new name of the group with Uncle Howdy as the leader. Great ending. You know, it's all going to be about the follow-up, though. You know, we've talked about this before. They got to let these guys kill it in the ring. If this group's going to be successful long-term, they got to be able to deliver in the ring and have some great matches. But yeah, the attire and everything, I mean, total tribute to Bray Wyatt. And the crowd was chanting, "Holy shit," at the end. So yeah, it was awesome. They did a fantastic job with the debut. But now the question is, where do they go from here? And what kind of longevity will this group have? Caleb Thomas sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, switch Gable with Triple H would have meant more with the Wyatt Sicks. Well, I guess they just felt like Gable's the guy that deserved it the most. You know, being a jerk, what goes around comes around, that type of attitude. I think they're supposed to be baby faces. I mean, at least for now, I think as a tribute to the late Wyndham Rotunda, they got to be baby faces. So thus, you know, they can't really take out Triple H because that would be a heelish thing to do. Taking out Gable, though, very much screams babyface move. Yes. Joe Schmo sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Joe. Says, can we get an RIP to Chad Gable? Rest in peace to the murdered Chad Gable, seemingly killed off by the Wyatt Sicks. The Wyatt Sicks, SICKS. And that was Raw. Hell of a show. One of the best Raws of the year. I think this might be the second best episode of Monday Night Raw after the episode where The Rock beat up Cody Rhodes in the parking lot. Like that to me was number one. I don't know if anything can top that until The Rock comes back, at least. But this was, I mean, one of the most memorable Raws in a very long time. Between Seth Rollins coming back at the beginning, I mean, they went guns a-blazing on this show. And credit to Corpus Christi, they stayed hot for it. You had Seth Rollins returning. You continue the Dominic and Liv Morgan storyline. Drew McIntyre quit. You did some Money in the Bank qualifiers. Braun Breaker continues his rampage. And then to close out the show, we had the debut finally after all the hype of the Wyatt Sicks. I give the show an A. Excellent episode of Monday Night Raw. Raw is on fire right now. Raw has been the best wrestling show of the week. And I don't know if anything can top it this week. I mean, SmackDown might be pretty big with CM Punk, depending on what they do, if they have McIntyre show up. But I don't think anything's topping this week's Raw. Like, Will Ospreay can do 100 flips on Dynamite. I don't think they're topping this week's show. But great episode of Monday Night Raw. Very much enjoyed it. And I have a little bit of an announcement, some good stuff coming up for you guys. I mean, Michael, here's the little lead-in for it. I am, in fact, doing a new No DQ&A video. It is going to be Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the No DQ YouTube channel, and of course, Facebook and Twitter as well. But if you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter, please head over to nodq.com/YouTube. And if you can, give the video a like and consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. I'll be doing a Q&A, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, June 18th. No DQ&A video. I'll be talking about WrestleMania 41, and you guys can super chat questions. You can send in questions. NoDQMISC@gmail.com. Send in your questions. We're going to be doing another No DQ&A video, and thank you all for watching tonight. I appreciate it. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest regarding the new Uncle Howdy faction, the Wyatt Sicks. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe out there. Buy a shirt, nodq.com/merch, and I will see you all next time.